Welcome to Ask Earl Anything 23. This week's episode is coming from my studio in Lake Worth, Florida. But next week's episode, 24, will be coming from my loft, away from home. I'll be on a special trip next week, and next week I'll be taking this show to the road, so to speak. And remember, Ask Earl Anything's about your questions, so your questions make the show. Let's jump into the questions for this week's show. All right. And the first question comes from All Classic Drum Covers. Tony. How you doing, Tony? Tony's got a great channel on Google+. So join the Google+ community of Tony's All Classic Drum Covers. Drop your drum cover there and meet some great drummers in that community. He has a nice question. He says, here's a question for the show. Is it important to have your seat height at a certain height? How do you feel about these drummers who put their cymbals way high instead of easy arm's reach? Also, I have a very old Zildjian ride, I think from the 60s, that my mom had on her drums when she played. It has an amazing sound. It's very heavy and thick. What do you think of older Zildjian rides and crash cymbals? Okay, great questions, Tony. So let's take them one at a time. The first question was seat height. I believe seat height does affect how we play pedals. And as you get older and your back gets older and you start having back issues and things like that, you really realize that your seat height has a lot to do with it. And I'm going to dip this into the second question. How do I feel about cymbals way up high? Okay? Now, when I started playing drums in the 70s, drummers had their cymbals up high and they had them tilted like this. This is the way it was. So it was way up high, cymbals tilted on a straight angle. You know, one of the most famous drummers that still today does that is a guy named Al Foster, jazz drummer, played with Miles Davis and many, many other great jazz greats. But playing my cymbals tilted up and sitting low was the thing to do. Vinny Colaiuta used to sit really, really low on his seat. But as you get older in life, your back starts to hurt and your legs don't work the way they should. And I have found that finding the proper seat height for you, okay? If you've got long legs, your seat height's going to be higher than mine, okay? If you've got shorter legs, your seat height's going to be lower than mine, okay? It's really important. What we're talking about is a subject called ergonomics. And as you can see today, I am dressed in some nice clothes today instead of my normal shorts and a t-shirt. The reason for that was I was doing my day gig. And my day gig is I'm a safety professional, okay? I'm a director of safety for a company. Current position, I was a consultant for them for a while. Now I'm the director of safety for the company. So let me talk about ergonomics. Ergonomics is a safety word. Ergonomics is the study of how we move. So when it comes to playing a drum kit, ergonomics are important. And what I have found in life is that the lower the cymbals are, okay, and the higher up my seat is, so I get the proper angles of my legs playing the bass drum pedal, the better off I am. Now every once in a while my seats do move down and I have to sit here and do this. I take a couple spins and I find that spot again. And I find if what I want to have is a slight angle for me. This is for me. I'm a big guy. This is my technique for me. Slight angle on my leg, okay? I play on the ball of my feet for the most part, unless I'm playing jazz, then I'll play flat-footed. So I do both, okay? And that gives me the best bass drum control. It allows me to do speed and other things that I do with a bass drum, okay? So seat height affects it. When the ride cymbal's up here, my arms are going to hurt. Now, you will occasionally see me do something crazy like that. When we did the last Van Halen cover with the Rototoms, I couldn't get the cymbal where I wanted it. So what I found worked best was to put it right here and tilt it. So I adapted. But that was only for a 5-minute song. So I mean, you're not talking about anything long term. But if you're playing a gig up here all night, this is going to possibly give you rotor cuff problems, shoulder problems. Okay? So you want to be able to play in a relaxed manner that's not going to put too much stress on your joints and your appendages, your arms and your legs, okay, and your back. Other things that help that is stretching. That's why Hand stretches are good because your wrists are going to get it too. Proper holding your sticks the right way and loosely is going to help your fingers and your hands not to get carpal tunnel and those kinds of things. Allowing the stick to come off the head is another thing. You don't want to play into the drum. Some guys play into the drum. They lay into it as opposed to coming off of it. All those things are going to affect your wrists, your arms, and everything. So proper ergonomics, but it has to be for you. So that's what I would say to you, Tony. Find the seat height that works for you. Put the cymbals at the height that work for you. I will tell you the reason why you saw more cymbals up high is if you had a big kit, and it puts on a great show. I mean, if you're watching some guy hitting China cymbals up here like Terry Bozzio, and you got a billion drums around you like Terry Bozzio, it really looks cool. But in actuality, even Terry Bozzio has taken his main ride surfaces and he keeps them down low. The lower the better, he's found. Okay? So it's all about ergonomics for your body. That's what I would say. Last part of your question, the Zildjian cymbal. I love Zildjian cymbals. Old Zildjians are great. An old heavy A Zildjian's a nice cymbal. If it sounds right to you, then use that cymbal, Tony. Sounds like a good one, I'm a fan of the thin 60 cymbals. That's what I like. I like the thinner ride cymbals, but that's my jazz sensibilities and my ears, and the fact I like to crash on them. This is a Paiste, but this Paiste is kind of in the vein of those 60s 602s and A Zildjians that you saw. Okay? Thanks for the question. Alright, my second question comes from 2112 Drums. I call him Mr. P. He is the winner of my 70s Zildjian cymbal, Deep Ride. How do you download songs for your drum covers? Alright, now there's probably a lot of different ways to do this. I have a recording studio, okay? So, and I have all kinds of inputs for mics and other things here. Notice my iPad over here? When I find a drumless track on YouTube, and there's some great drumless tracks on YouTube, by the way. Matter of fact, let me see if I can dig up my favorite guy so I can give him a plug today. I'm in that kind of a mood. So, open up YouTube. I've got the drumless tracks I want to do in a folder here. A folder for me. No thanks, YouTube, I don't want that. Hit this real quick. Alright. Drumless covers. And let me give a shout out to two guys that do great drumless covers. Alright. These guys are taking their rock band or whatever it is and putting it up there for us. The first one is called Free Drumless Songs. A shout out to Free Drumless Songs. So how do I take a song? I pick the song I want to do. Okay. And I run it from my iPad into my computer. I set my computer on record and I play it. And you hear how it just came up? I actually have Logic open at this time and it's playing, it's recording. And I have it set for tracks 13 and 14, which my iPad runs through. And it's going into the Logic and I hear it through my speakers and it's recording it. That's a special song for my wife. She doesn't know I'm doing it yet. Unless she watches Ask Earl Anything 23, then she'll know I'm going to do that song for her. That's a very special song for my wife. I don't know if I'm going to do the picture thing this time on it, but it's a very special song. It's one of those songs in our special songs. I found it drumless this week. Great song, REO Speedwagon. But that's how I do it, Mr. P. Basically, I run it from my iPad, into my board, and then into my Logic program. Now, Mr. P had a second question, and I'm going to go to his second question. His second question was, could you do a drum room tour? Like a studio tour? Well, I can. And I'm going to save that for not Ask Earl Anything, but I'm going to do a special room tour. I also have an announcement to make. I purchased a 5K iMac, which will come in after my trip next week. So that's why I told you it's my drum cover schedule is going to change, because when I go to the transition of my Mac Mini to my new computer, there's going to be a little bit of a lag. I may miss a few days. I may miss a little bit of my groove here. Okay? But what I plan on doing is probably some talking videos. Hopefully I'll have YouTube up and monetized by that point, and I'll probably do an unboxing video. I'll do a setup video, and then I'll do a room tour video when my room's nice and neat and clean, and I will show you all my toys drum wise, and also show you all my toys studio wise, because my studio is getting a huge upgrade. I just don't know how I'm going to get that sticker off that monitor that's probably not going to be there anymore. Even though I still might run 2 monitors at some point for my studio. This 27-inch 5K iMac is beautiful, so that's where I'm going with things. And I'm really looking forward to upgrading my studio and getting some... The other thing about the studio upgrade, I have to tell you, I already purchased it with Logic and Final Cut on it. So I'm upgrading to Final Cut, so the next thing is to buy some cameras for Final Cut. So, some more cameras. So, my production hopefully in the next 6 months will change. You know, hopefully some new intros, all kinds of cool stuff. So, you asked a question at a great time, but I'm not ready to do a tour of the studio, like a video tour. But I will do one soon, okay? And I plan on putting something up there about the studio and everything. Also, I've got some projects coming my way, possibly. I talked to somebody about doing some drum tracks for his project. So I'm working on those kinds of things. And as you saw, in Michael Johnson's video, I had Michael Johnson in here. I met Drummer for Christ, Sergio Drums now. He came down, he lives in Miami. So I'm hosting people in my studio and having people over and hanging out with them. So I got some cool videos coming with that too. But studio tour, Mr. P, will come after the new computer, I promise. Alright? Lots of stuff about the studio. The next question comes from Jared O.Y. I'm not going to try to mess his name up, as he asked another question a week ago. You remember that? He asked me a very interesting question. He said, if someone was inspired by you to do a cover of this tune after watching you, this was Money for Nothing he was commenting on, what is the most polite way of letting you know without coming off as begging on your channel? Some of the nicest guys want to know. I guess what he was saying is he's going to make a cover. This is how I read this. He's going to make a cover, and he wants me to see it, I guess. So Jared, one of the things you guys need to know, people that comment on my videos, I do normally click on that person if they're new. I'll click on them and see what their channel's about. And if they write nice comments and they've got videos up there and they're a drummer usually, I will normally subscribe. I've even subscribed to some guitar players and other musicians that watch my channel. The reason for that is that's part of getting those subscribers up, I believe, in the last year. I'm trying to be nice to everybody. And I think that's really important for the community to understand that that's how we have to treat one another. Treating each other with kindness is really important. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but this is a painting my wife did. My wife would say she's not an artist. And it says, be kind and tender-hearted. And I put this in my studio because, believe it or not, I can be pretty gruff. I'm a guy. I'm a big guy. And I have intimidating looks on my face sometimes. And this has been a mantra for me for the last 10 years or so, is be grateful and be kind and tender-hearted to people. Okay? And you get a lot more with honey than you get with vinegar. And I've learned in this new world, this is where we have to kind of go to. So, if somebody comes to my channel and likes my stuff and says nice things, Jared, you can bet I'm going to try to look at your channel and I'm going to see what you do. And if you've got some videos up there, I'm going to check your videos out. Alright? I just believe that's what we should do. But this idea of being kind-hearted and tender-hearted is really important in how we communicate on YouTube, I find. And I think it's something that I hope the drum community will take to heart. I'm not trying to be preachy, but I am trying to send a subtle message that the drama is not what we want. What we want is to have reconciliation now. And I really hope that that's what we find in the community soon. And it starts with being kind and tender-hearted. By the way, last night I saw the Mr. Rogers movie documentary, amazing documentary, and he was a man that believed this. That's what he believed he would pour into children. Okay? And I know and most of you know that the world is a mean place. Okay? But in actuality, we don't have to make it a meaner place. We can find a way to be nice to one another. So that's my goal, is to be nice to you guys. And Jared, if you say something nice on my channel, you can bet I'm gonna check you out. And if I see something that looks interesting and you look like a guy that needs a little bit of boost, I'm gonna try to boost you up and help you out and subscribe to your channel. Okay? I haven't got into the shout out thing because there's a lot of guys that do their own shout outs, and I don't really want to step on the shout out community guys. But I will say this. I will mention people and ask Earl Anything that do nice things and say nice things, okay, and ask nice questions. And Jared, you're one of them. So that was a nice way of asking, can you watch my channel, I think? And I just wanted to let you know I already subbed. The next comment comes from Leon Tapp. And Leon asks, Earl, hi Earl, do you wear shoes when you drum? I play bare feet at home and play in Dunlop volleys out and about. I guess that's a sneaker of some type. Let me tell you my story about shoes and no shoes. When I was young, I loved playing barefoot and playing with no shoes. Matter of fact, I used to do wedding gigs, and I'd have my black shoes on and I would take them off and I'd be playing with my black socks on the pedals. I took the shoes off and would play. But then all of a sudden, about 10 years ago, about 46, 47-ish, was in this house. One day I sat down in the kit playing barefoot, and I hit the hi-hat, and I felt like this sharp pain in my foot. And I realized that I was actually hurting my feet playing barefoot. Now, up until that point in time, I never noticed anything. But ever since then, I notice when I play barefoot, and I don't play barefoot very often anymore because of that. So, I have no problems with playing barefoot. I played for years barefoot, okay? I do think certain situations are going to require you play in shoes, and it's kind of important that you learn how to play in shoes. And I always like shoes with more of a rubber sole than the leather soles. But I've played with the leather soles, and the leather soles kind of slide on the pedals, kind of cool. But usually I play in sneakers or some kind of a rubber sole shoe. Like the black shoes I have on today have a rubber sole on them. So, I don't know if you can see them. They got a rubber sole, but they're leather. Okay, I'm not in the shot. Now I'm back in the shot. Okay. But, so I would say as you get older, you'll figure out you need to play with your shoes on. That's what happened to me. But I can tell you when I was younger, I used to love playing without my shoes. I would play barefoot or in my socks all the time. So, just take care of your feet. That's all I'm saying. Alright? But thanks for the question. My next question is from Drum Covers by Bill. He says, an amazing message and cover. This was for Man in the Middle. I love the addition of the Roland SPDSX. I've been looking at those. How do you like it? Great question. I really like this unit, I have to tell you. I love this pad. Now, one of the things I'm going to do as soon as I get my new studio up and running is I'm going to do some lessons on the SPDSX. I did this in one of my early Ask Earl Anythings. I brought this in. I had a question. I think it was from Steve Delamar. Asked a question about it. But I'm going to actually go into how you set some things up. I've used this pad in a couple different ways. One is sounds. Another way I've used it is to trigger songs. I was doing a Shania Twain gig a couple years ago for a friend of mine. Anyhow, I had the whole Shania gig on this with clicks and everything. It's not very loud, but That was one of her Shania tunes. I like Shania Twain. You know, she was good. It was a fun gig to do, but we never did it. That was the problem. So you can run your backing tracks from here. I'm going to do a whole expose on SPDSX, and I'm going to show you guys some different ways to use it. The samples I used for Money for Nothing and Man in the Middle were samples I found on the internet, and they were custom samples. The one for Money for Nothing was an old Simmons SDS5 kit that was sampled, and I had a whole bunch of different samples from that. And I had some really nice finger snaps and a clap effect. I don't know, I think it was a Lindrum clap effect. But anyhow, I'm gonna do a lesson on the SPDSX, maybe a couple lessons on it, so you guys can see it. It's a great unit, but I will say don't just play with the stock. Put some of your own stuff in it. But I used it in church to trigger a click track and some loops and things. You can build loops into this, and I'm planning on doing a song with this one day. So, but I love the unit. I think it's great. I'm not getting rid of it. I was sitting here so long looking at it, I was just wondering when I was going to do something with it. So I'm glad I found a couple covers it worked on. Thanks for the question, Bill. Awesome question. And my last question comes from Beats by Jay. And Beats by Jay is the one who made the suggestion that I use the Rototom kit for the Van Halen cover. And he wrote it this way. He said, as for the Rototom kit, pretty much anything Van Halen would be a great song to cover on that kit. This time around, I do have a question. I understand that drumming is life, but what else is there to the hammer besides drums? Can you tell us about your interest when you're not beating the skins? Great question, Jay. Well, I will tell you this. There are a couple things that are really important to me. God, family, and music. Okay? I have a very strong faith that I don't talk about very often on camera, but that is what drives my life, and it's what kept my marriage together for 35 years, my wife and I. Marriage and family are the most important things to me in my life, and every time I have a chance to do something, I find things to do with my wife. So over the last 20 years, we've done things like ballroom dancing, because I was always the drummer watching everybody dancing on the dance floor. I went and learned how to dance. Not great, but good enough. And I do a yoga class once a week for stretching. I've talked about that. Long walks with the wife, and playing with the grandkids. I have 10 grandkids. Okay, my 3 kids gave me 10 grandkids and beautiful spouses, and those are the things that I do and I spend my time on. Being with the people in the church, the people that I love fellowshipping with and being with, and the other thing is my family. Those are the important things for me. Drumming and music are the things, this is my outlet for me, you know. Not a big sports guy, you know. I'll watch Super Bowls and things like that. I'll play golf if I have to at work, for work things, events. But really, my life is centered around family and times with family. So if it's watching a movie or going out dancing or going out, as you can tell, I like to go out eating. Those are things we love to do. I love being around people too. My wife and I love being around people. And the more people we have around, the better. We love to throw parties at our house with friends and family. So that's what life is. Life's about relationships, and that's why, you know, I went to that whole thing before about being kind to one another. I've learned that that's really the starting point for having relationships with people. My wife's a professor at a university. So one of the interesting things that she's one of the interesting things of her being a professor, I'll say it that way, is that we get to meet new young people every year. So we have lots of young people in our house, plus our children, which are now in their 30s, all of them. I can say they're all in their 30s now. And having grandkids, we have younger kids. We just love people. So I would say people and pouring into people. And that's why if somebody gets a chance to come down to my studio, I love hanging with people. And that's what I love to do that. I love to do those things. So music's part of it, you know, definitely music's part of it, but family and friends, and God. Those are all important things in my life, and those are things that kind of make me tick and keep me centered here on earth. As you get older, you realize that life's more than here, you know? And what we take with us is the love we pass on in this life. And I truly believe that. So that's kind of how I try to live life, Jay, to be honest. I try to do that. And hopefully that's what comes across on camera, you know? St. Francis of Assisi, who was a Catholic, you know, he was one of the famous Catholic saints, St. Francis of Assisi. He said, preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. Hopefully my life is preaching the gospel, not the words I say. I'm not much to use the words to preach the gospel, but hopefully you guys see it and how I pour out to the community. The way I am online is how I'd like to be in real life with the people in my community. I like to be parts of community. But real life is more important than online life. So I will tell you that. Okay? So, but I will tell you this, Jay, also. I do like to enjoy a nice rum and coke once in a while. Just haven't done it on camera yet. But that's a nice, my wife, have a drink. Nice to just chill out with families and friends. So, hopefully it tells you I'm not a very religious person. I'm just very, very deeply committed spiritually. That's what it's all about for me. That's what makes Earl tick. Earl the Hammer tick. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a part of this week's show. Ask questions for next week's show. Now, if there's any technical questions next week, there's a good possibility I can't show them, okay? Because I probably won't have a drum kit with me. But I may have a pad, who knows. But next week's show will be remote. But I will do a show for next Friday, I promise. Thank you for watching, and everybody have a great day. And God bless.